Today we are making music inspired by Avicii, one of my favorite artists, a legend, and his music always evolved, but its focus was on emotional melodies, and I would say his signature was combining EDM with live music, often combined with folk elements or country elements, so that's what we are going to do today. Also, this video is brought to you by ACE Studio, more on that later. And of course, we are gonna start off with composition, which is probably the most important thing in his tracks. The piano I'm using is this one. First thing first, let's go here, go to View, Scale Highlighting, and set up our key, Major and G sharp. Now you can see all these highlighted notes and the darker ones. The highlighted ones are the ones that you can use in G sharp major. So stick to those and you're gonna stick to the key of the track. And we're gonna start with the composition, starting off with the bass notes. What I recommend is to imagine the melody in your head first and then start transferring those notes into the piano roll. So I'm thinking like do 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 do. So we're gonna find the first key and we're gonna start creating the melody. Let's add the filler notes in this one as well. And then copy this over, just like so. Now the bass notes. So just stick to the highlighted notes and you'll be fine. Now let's copy this over, but in the second repetition we want to make some changes. Maybe octave higher, this one. We can also change the bass note in the second repetition to have a bit of a switch up in the second repetition. So now our melody and the bass notes are ready. One more thing I want to do is adjust the rhythm of the bass notes. In Avicii's tracks, you often hear this rhythm. So just adjust it. So our composition is ready. Everything else will revolve around this composition. Now let's add in other sounds. For the piano, I'm gonna be using this sound instead. And then it sounds like this. I've also added the bass notes from the piano. The next sound is, of course, the bass. I'm using the Boo bass from FL Studio, set up like this. Next, perhaps a bit unusual, but as I said, Avicii liked to combine live instruments with EDM, so we have some brass. And then one of the more important sounds is the dance piano playing the chords. I'm using this preset from Nexus. And I just created simple chords from the bass. The way you create chords is simple. Your bass is at F5. So you skip 2 notes, put a third one in, and then you skip 3 notes and put a fourth one in. And that's a simple minor chord. If you want a major chord, you would move this note 1 up. That would be a major chord. But this one should be a minor chord. How do I know that? Just follow the highlighted notes. If you set up your key to G sharp major, you'll see these highlighted notes, and there's only one chord that fits into those notes, in this case, which is a minor chord. Here, only one chord fits into the highlighted notes, and it's a major chord. It's always the same shape, and if we move it to minor chord, this note would be on the darker grid, which means it wouldn't fit into G sharp major. So just follow the highlighted notes and create these simple chord shape. And from time to time, I like to select the middle notes and put them octave higher. Control arrow up, it's still the same chord, but the notes are in a different order. Now the piano chords sound like this. But I wanted to add another live sound into this, which brings me to a really cool tool in ACE Studio, which now lets you create realistic sounding violins. So if you are in ACE Studio, go to AI Instruments and grab a violin and put it here. And now double click and we can create a melody with a violin. First, just a basic violin sound, but then the AI will render it and it will sound like a real violin. Let me just show you real quick. So we can create a simple melody like this. When we press play, the AI will generate it into a realistic violin. Just beautiful. For now, they just have the violins, but hopefully they will add more sounds because this is a really cool tool to help producers like me create realistic instruments. So if you want to try this out yourself, you can check it out. Link is below. I'm really excited. They are definitely innovating ACE Studio a lot. You can create realistic vocals in here, but now also instruments. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna delete this. And I'm gonna grab the melody that I created in FL Studio, which is this one. What you wanna do is just go here, File, Export as MIDI. Just save it as a MIDI file, load it up in here, and now play it. It would be really hard to get it this realistic with virtual instruments. This just takes it to the next level. So I'm gonna use this melody for the song. You can either render it as a WAV file, or you can use ACE Bridge, which connects to FL Studio, and it will play automatically in your FL Studio, along with the track. I also decided to add lower notes in ACE Studio for the violin. Now I've also added some effects to our arrangement, some sweeps and impacts to start the song. Then we move on to the breakdown. In the breakdown, I have this piano. Again, following the same chords as previously, but I added a few more notes to make the piano a bit bigger. But of course, I wanted some vocals. So what do? Nowadays, there's many ways to create vocals. The way I did it is I recorded myself first, then I used ACE Studio to change my voice and correct the pitch, and then I used Suno to sort of re-sing that vocal one more time, and then I created copies of that vocal, but changed the voice of those copies, so we have like 3 singers singing at the same time. I have a lot of videos on how to create vocals, so check those out if you are interested. But after I wrote the lyrics, sang the vocal, and ran it through AI, we have this vocal.
In my mind and in the clouds, our story goes so wild. The perfect storm, the simple times bring us down to bring you up.
For the effects, I have some reverb. I adjusted the EQ so it's more clean, some delay, and some more EQ adjustments.
In my mind and in the clouds, our story goes so wild. The perfect storm, the simple times bring us down to bring you up.
Really nice. I think it definitely has the feel of Avicii's tracks as far as the vocal goes. Next, I created another melody with the violin. Here's the melody. So now we have this melody and we add a few more sounds to support it. So this is the second part of the breakdown. We also have a classic Avicii-style guitar. It's the strummed acoustic, which creates really nice, realistic sounding guitar chords. We once again start to introduce the piano. And of course the violin. But that's not all. We also have a vocal, sort of a backing vocal, that sings the same melody as the violin. But now let's move on to the drop. Now, as far as the drop goes, we are using pretty much the same sounds from the intro. So we already created the drop idea in the intro, but what we're gonna add is, of course, the drums. So we have a simple kick. From my sample pack, Staple Sounds, if you wanna check it out, link is below in the description. You get sounds for pretty much every genre. Really clean kick with a nice top kick. Really snappy. And then we have some claps. Kind of a signature for Avicii, these offbeat claps. And a hi-hat. Really creates a nice rhythm in the song. Then the rest of the sounds, the piano, bass, the lower notes of the piano, the guitar, the melody of the piano. Then of course, if we enable the violin, we have the same violin as in the beginning. But this time I also support it with a synth melody as well. So we have this synth melody following the same melody as the violin. We have this sound, which is from this silent pack from my sample pack. And then we have this sound, which is a bit more harsh, but has a lot of white noise in it, which is really good for the drop. So then we have this with the violin. And with the rest of the sounds, sounds like this. And in the second repetition of the drop, we have the violin again from ACE Studio, but this time we put it octave higher. Still sounds so realistic. I really love this. In my opinion, this is how AI should be used, where you still include your creative input, but it will help you reach the desired goal a bit easier. So the second repetition, one octave higher. Okay, so then we continue with the drop. We remove melody altogether and we just bring back the backing vocal and the violin melody that played with the backing vocal. So it sounds like this. And then we bring it back to the vocal, but this time the vocal evolves and we have this part of the vocal.
Break through the silence, no need for violence. This is our last dance, our final and last chance. One day you'll fall.
Created a little build-up here, which just plays one note throughout the whole thing. And that's pretty much it. That's how I created this song. Now let's listen to the finished result. And of course, if you are interested, check out ACE Studio, link is below, and try it out yourself. Now, the finished result. Enjoy!
Story goes so wild. The perfect storm, the simple times bring us down to bring you up. Oh,